Hey everybody, today we have The Lion in Love, another one of Aesop's fables. There was once a mighty lion who happened to fall in love with a beautiful maiden. So the king of beasts went to the girl's parents to ask for her hand in marriage. The parents were stunned. This was not what they had expected. They did not wish to give their daughter to the lion, yet they did not wish to enrage the king of beasts either. At last, the father said, "We feel honored by your majesty's proposal, but our daughter is only a girl, and we fear that you might injure her by accident. May we suggest that you have your claws removed and your teeth pulled out? Then we will consider your proposal again." The lion was downhearted at first, but he was so much in love that he did indeed have his claws trimmed and his big teeth taken out. Then the lion went again to see the parents of his beloved, with high hopes that this time they would agree to let her marry him. But, of course, this time they just laughed in his face, for now they had no reason to be afraid of him. The lesson in this one is that love can tame the wildest things. This one I'm sure you've heard of. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. There was once a shepherd boy who tended his sheep at the foot of a mountain near a dark forest. He was out on the slopes all day by himself, and he often got lonely and bored. One day, the shepherd boy thought up a plan whereby he could get a little company and some excitement. He left his flock unattended and rushed down the slopes toward his village. He pretended to be in a terrible panic and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" at the top of his voice. The villagers came running to check that he was unharmed. When they realized there was no wolf, they returned grumbling, telling the boy not to shout at false alarms. A few days later, the naughty boy tried the same trick again. He ran down the mountainside, screaming, "Wolf! Wolf!" And again, the villagers came rushing to help him. This time, they were angry to find there was no wolf, just like the first time. Just a few days later, the shepherd boy was watching his flocks as usual when a wolf really did come out of the forest and begin prowling around the sheep. Of course, the boy set off down the mountainside, crying, "Wolf! Wolf!" You can see the wolf sneaking in the background there. Even louder and more in panic than before. But this time, the villagers, who had already been fooled twice, thought the boy was again deceiving them. Nobody stirred to come to his aid, and so the wolf made a good meal out of the boy's flock. The lesson in that one is, a liar will not be believed even when they speak the truth. Honesty is the best policy. The next one is The Man and the Wood. Once upon a time, a man came striding boldly into a wood with an axe head in his hand. The trees were all nervous at first, for men with axes were one of their worst fears. However, they soon decided that the man was harmless enough. He did nothing at all except stand in a clearing, looking around at the trees, and beg them to give him one small branch. He said he wanted it for a particular job. The trees overcame their fears, and being good-natured, gave him a stout, short branch. However, what did the man do but put the branch straight into his axe head and use it as a dangerous tool? He began cutting down tree after tree. Then the trees saw how foolish they had been in giving their enemy the means to destroy them. And the lesson is, beware what you give to potential enemies. The next one is The Donkey in the Lion's Skin. Once upon a time, some hunters caught and killed a lion. They skinned the mighty beast and left its hide out in the sun to dry while they set off on another hunt. While the hunters were away, a donkey came wandering by. He was delighted to find the lion's skin and thought he would try it on. He put it over his head and shoulders and was sure that he looked good. The donkey decided that finders were keepers, and he set off for home, draped in the hide. As he approached the village, everyone thought that a lion was approaching. People and animals alike fled as the donkey plodded closer. The donkey realized what was happening, and he was delighted. He lifted up his head with pride and brayed aloud. But that was a huge mistake. Everyone realized who he was. Before he knew it, the villagers were pelting him with rotten vegetables for all the trouble that he'd caused. The lesson in that one is fine clothes may disguise, but silly words will reveal a fool. Next one is The Fox and the Goat. Once upon a time, an unfortunate fox fell into an unused well. The sides were steep, and the well was too deep for him to climb out of. The fox was left helpless at the bottom, although thankful that the water had dried up. At first, the fox shouted for help, but nobody came. After a while, his voice grew tired, so he sat patiently, waiting for help to arrive, talking to himself from time to time. Eventually, a goat came past the well and heard the voice coming up from the depths. Curious, he peered over and saw the fox, and asked what he was doing down there. "Oh, have you not heard?" replied the fox. "There's going to be a great drought, so I jumped down here to find some water in this old well. Why don't you come down as well?" The goat considered the fox's words and decided that they made good sense, so he jumped down into the well too. However, the fox immediately jumped on the goat's back and, by putting his paws on her horns, managed to jump to the top of the well. "Goodbye, friend," called the fox, trotting off to freedom and leaving the goat trapped below. The lesson in that one is never trust the advice of someone who's in trouble themselves. Oh, this one might be kind of spooky. The Old Man and Death. There was once a man who had grown so old that he was bent double through old age and hard work. He lived on his own and had to do everything himself, from cooking his meals to repairing his little house. One day he was out in the forest, gathering sticks for firewood, when his body began aching unbearably. The old man felt so tired and hopeless that he threw down the bundle of sticks and cried out, "I cannot bear this life any longer. I wish death would come and take me." Just after he spoke, Death, in the form of a skeleton, appeared and said to him, "What would you like of me, mortal? I heard you call me." The man's face turned white, and he gulped with fear. "Please, sir," he replied, "would you kindly help me lift this bundle of sticks onto my shoulder?" The lesson in that one is we would often be sorry if our wishes were granted. Or be careful what you wish for. This one is The Buffoon and the Countryman. Once upon a time, there was a country fair at which people were entertained with rides, competitions, stalls, and fun shows. One of the shows was performed by a buffoon, who made the crowds laugh by imitating various animals. He mooed like a cow, brayed like a donkey, roared like a lion, and squawked like a parrot. He finished off by squealing so much like a pig that the spectators thought he had a pig hidden around himself. But a countryman who stood by said, "Call that a pig squeal? It's nothing like it. Give me until tomorrow and I'll show you what it's like." Sure enough, the next day the countryman appeared on stage. He put his head down and began squealing like a pig, but the noise was so dreadful that the crowd hissed and booed at him to make him stop. The countryman grew red-faced. "You fools," he cried. "See what you were hissing?" And he held up a little pig that he had been pinching to make it squeal. The lesson is, people often applaud an imitation and hiss at the real thing. I think we can do one more. The Donkey, the Rooster, and the Lion. Once upon a time, a donkey and a rooster were in a farmyard together when a lion came prowling by. He had not eaten for days and was ravenous, So he had set his sights upon the donkey first as a more satisfying meal. The lion was just about to pounce when the rooster crowed at the top of his voice, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" It is said that the one thing lions are afraid of is a rooster's crow, and this lion certainly fled as fast as he could. The donkey decided that the lion must be very cowardly indeed, and galloped after him to attack him himself. However, the lion heard the donkey galloping behind him, and of course he wasn't frightened of a donkey at all. So he turned and pounced and tore the donkey to bits. The lesson in this one is false confidence often leads into danger. I think we can do this last one here. The donkey and its driver. There was once a donkey that was being driven by its owner along the edge of a high cliff. A sudden noise in the undergrowth scared the donkey, which bolted. Unfortunately, it charged towards the cliff top, and in its fright, it did not think to stop. The owner was horrified and chased after the donkey, throwing himself at the beast to stop it from going over the edge. The man managed to catch hold of the donkey's tail and held on for dear life. However, the donkey kept trying so hard to plunge over the cliff that in the end the man was forced to let go rather than be pulled over with it. And the lesson in that one is don't be too stubborn in wanting to go your own way. That's all for today.